Welcome to another episode of the Trailer Island podcast. I am Alex and I'm joined by
Steve
and Matthew.
And we hope that everyone is enjoying themselves and having a lovely day.
It's certainly a lovely day on the island today, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
marvellous.
absolutely.
Yeah. Wonderful weather.
I bet you guys are wondering why I sang my intro.
Not really, but seeing as you've given us that setup, it would be a shame not to ask, why did you sing your intro?
It might have a little bit of something to do with the movie we're reviewing this way. It's going to be awesome.
Steve is suggesting that we are talking about a musical this week. That's what he's trying to get across.
I'm also concerned that he might not be on his medication today, which is...
I've been on this island for a very long time. I am definitely not on meds.
More's the pity.
This week we are talking about a musical or an opera. I don't know. I'm a bit torn.
I suggest this is a musical, not an opera.
Okay, well, all right, Mr. Opinion.
Oh, I'm just going to come in strong straight away. All right, shut that down.
I am actually kind of nervous talking about this because this has been probably one of the most requested things that we've had.
Yeah.
Had a lot of people going, sending rum bottles with a little notes into the island saying, you should do the thing on Disney Plus. And we've got a snippet from a guest today who
a super fan
of the musical who wants to share their love.
But yeah, because I think that we will introduce it soon, dear listeners. Do not fret. But the three of us were relatively new to this musical, so I think it's good that we've got a super fan who can sort of add their comments to this sort of cult following. It's not even a cult following anymore. It's a massive following that this thing has got.
This is not Cats.
This is not...
I just wanted to clarify that it's not Cats.
No, this is much better than Cats.
No, we're about to play you the trailer in a second, and you're probably going to hear about 5 seconds of it because it is basically just it's all music, which we can't repurpose. The lawyers have thus far said, just play it safe.
Which is fair enough. Shall I introduce what we're talking about?
You should, Matthew.
All right, we are doing the Disney Plus shot recorded version on cameras of Hamilton.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. This is Hamilton.
So there was all the 5 seconds of the Hamilton
It's
trailer.
a shame, really, because I think the one thing you get from that trailer is really, this is a big deal. You get that sense, don't you? There's a sense of occasion, I think, about that trailer.
Do take the opportunity to find somewhere online to stream the trailer because we can't show it to you. So,
Fairly dramatic trailer.
and I think it's a fairly dramatic musical opera.
Yes, you're really going to try and get the word opera in there, aren't you?
Because I don't know, because I'm a little bit torn about what I think qualifies as a musical or an opera, and we might be able to discuss that. But also, what we want to do is hang around to the end because then we're going to reveal which of the islandites have also appeared in musicals.
Yes, we've got a bit of a surprise today.
Yes, don't we? So maybe you can make your guesses now, but we'll tell you at the end. Now, yes, this Hamilton phenomena that is raging the world at the moment.
Well, it's been a phenomena for about 5 years now.
Yeah, that's right. And this recorded version is from a 2015 performance.
Yeah.
With the original cast, but it's definitely not going anywhere. This is a big deal, this musical. Very big deal.
I do feel like reviewing this is going to be inevitable because the House of Mouse has been forcing this down our throats for a long time. It was the only thing on Disney Plus that was showing, and there were ads everywhere for this thing.
Yeah.
And I find it strange as an Australian audience that this is taken off as much as it has.
That's exactly right, because I was very apprehensive to watch this the whole way through because I have no understanding of American politics and also the War of Independence in America. I know very little about. It's not something I've ever really researched. So I was concerned that I would actually find this a bit of a homework session trying to watch this and having to have Google out all the time going, okay, so who was this person? What did they become later on? Were they a president? Who were they? And so I do agree that the fact that Australians, and I think this is a testament to the musical, the fact that people who don't particularly maybe care about American history like us Australians still really enjoy it and still really connect to it. I think that's probably a good thing, really, that it's managed to do that.
That's where I feel... Oh, sorry, Steve.
I was just going to add a big drawing card for me was sort of historical period. Because the Revolutionary War has always been something that's sort of interested me a little bit, and I had not heard a lot about Alexander Hamilton.
No, neither did I.
And then musical comes along, and as far as I can tell, there's a lot of sort of off the history page fact here. They obviously weren't singing and dancing everywhere, but
well, they might have been. I mean, it was a revolution, so they could have been. So this is talking about the history. So this is written and also starring. And when I say written, he wrote the book, the music, the whole lot by. I'm gonna try and get his name right. I've been practicing all day. Lin-Manuel Miranda.
so well,
Oh, fantastic!
so great.
And this is his baby, really. He has done a lot of stuff before this, but this has really catapulted him to absolute stardom. And he has based this on a few books that he read. He was inspired by some biographies of Alexander Hamilton, who, if we haven't mentioned, is one of the founding fathers of America, I guess, now as we know it, I suppose, is fair to say. So it is very much based on that historical reality. But it's done in this incredibly, as you hopefully got from the 5 seconds of trailer we showed you, in this very dramatic kind of way. I think now would be a great segue. So I first heard about this from a good friend of mine who is a super fan, Douglas, who basically sat me down and literally went through YouTube and was going, "This is the history. Like, these are the people." And I struggled to keep up, but he's bought all the books and everything. He knows everything about it. Absolute super fan.
Yeah.
So I thought we have to hear from him if we're going to do this, and just get a sense of, I think, the love that is out there for this musical. Shall we somehow use our island phone to get across to Douglas?
Yes, we have a live satellite now via the coconut. Also, Douglas has his own podcast.
He certainly does. The 250, they're going through the IMDb's top 250 movies.
Excellent. Well, here is Douglas talking about his love for Hamilton.
Thanks for having me on, guys, and I'm really glad you're giving me a platform to splurge about Hamilton for a hot second. I first listened to Hamilton back in 2016, and ever since I listened to it, I've been waiting for a release of the original cast performance. I think movie musicals get dismissed far too readily in current culture, as exampled by Cats, but this recording of Hamilton is just that, in my opinion. A recording. It differentiates from your standard movie musical as it's presented on stage. You get to see the original cast in all their glory and bravado, and for me, it definitely translated to the screen and it lived up to the hype. Big highlight for me was Blankenbuehler's choreography and staging, but I'm keen to hear what you guys took away from it.
So there we go. Clearly, he thinks very highly of this, and he is obviously a theatre person, if that's fair to say. But he raises a couple of very good points there. And I'm sorry, Douglas, I'm going to disagree with you as well, because this brought to mind the fact that this is a recorded on-stage production. A version of Les Mis I saw at the O2 in London on a DVD. It was just a recording of the show. And I thought it didn't work, because in that setting, you've got actors who are performing to the audience in the room, not to the camera, whereas traditionally, if you're making a film, your performances are to the camera, very much like the actual, like, Russell Crowe, Hugh Jackman version of Les Mis. So I actually thought this was a similar thing, where I felt like the camera was getting in the way.
Okay, yeah.
Like, I felt like if I was actually in the room, fantastic, that would have been great. But watching it on a couch, when you know there's an audience there, but you're not part of that audience, to me, I thought was a bit strange.
Agreed. It comes back to the trailer for me. As soon as I saw that sort of, the camera is now part of the audience / stage, I was like, it's gonna be one of these things, and I was genuinely turned off by that. I guess you'd call format.
Okay,
Right, because it's a mix of, if you can imagine it, like they've done it twice over. They've done one with an audience, and then they've done one where they're performing just to the cameras.
Of course, because the cameras are on stage.
Because they're on stage, and I guess you get that sensation sometimes that the cameras are getting in the way of the audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I should say, just going back to Douglas's point, because I think it's a really good one, is even though I don't think I liked it, it is a good distinction that this, instead of them going, let's make a live action remake of this with new people and shoot it like a traditional film, they go, no, let's try and preserve what the original version of this was and present that in its full glory. And I think there is merit in that. Whether or not it works for me is a different point. But I think it's cool that they've gone, let's shoot that original show and then present it as it happened. I thought that was interesting.
You don't get it that often. I wonder what the forethought or the foresight to actively go, okay, this seems reasonably successful, let's make a movie version of it. Well, a filmed version of the show. But you can't fault it for its technical ability. Like, it's fantastic. It sounds great. I had to watch the entire thing with subtitles I could not.
Yes.
It might have just been my
Now-
setup at home, but for the life of me, I could not
I had to do it as well.
understand what they were
I
singing.
tried my best to watch this without the subtitles, which I think in hindsight I should have, because I'm sure I've missed stuff. So the style of music in this, there's a bit of a range. There's sort of your traditional show tunes, and there's also quite a bit of hip hop and rap, which is not music that I would traditionally choose to listen to. But in context, I think works really well. But at the same time, it can be hard to understand what they're saying sometimes because it's really quick.
And I wonder if that is, we feel a bit of a disjoin between the content, the historical content, knowledge of it, and us.
Yeah.
Is that it's not our history. So
Well, that's right.
we have to do a bit more big brain time to think about
Like,
what's
if-
going on.
If the character that I relate most to is King George, that's fine. Like that's to be expected.
My favourite character, hands down,
Yeah.
Yeah.
is King George in this.
Jonathan Groff of
Jonathan Groff.
Mindhunter fame.
And Glee.
And was he in Glee?
He's in Glee, yeah.
I think
My wife had a quick look online and she was like, yeah, he's in Glee as well. I thought I knew him from somewhere. And I was like, he's the guy in Mindhunter. And she was like, what?
I think the disconnect for me really doesn't stem from like the fact that it's not our history. I think it's more I'm not a musicals person, and I'm
Right.
especially not a musicals person where it is song after song after song after song.
Yeah.
And so for me, this was like a marathon.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
there were some really excellent bits in this movie.
I guess we can call it a movie. I guess. I mean, it has been shot by cameras, and the cameras have been directed by a director, and
yeah.
I guess it's a movie. We
There
can call
was
it a movie.
There were some really good bits in this movie.
Yeah.
But I kept on getting bored.
Okay.
There'd be like 2 or 3 minutes of really, really like awesome stuff happening on screen, and then that 2 or 3 minutes would drag out to 5, right? And I'm starting to look at my watch, and I'm going, okay, Aaron Burr's still singing, okay?
And I think this is the issue about it being a recorded live show, because I think if we were actually there at the live show, these issues would not count for anything. I think if you were there, at least this is the feeling I got. If I was there, I would be absolutely swept away by the energy that is in this production. And I do want to something that I loved about this is that the cast is incredible.
Yeah.
They work so well together.
Absolutely.
And a lot of them have stuck around, I believe, for a lot of the run. So a bit pre-pandemic, this was still selling out in Broadway, and so it's been running now for probably about 4 years, I reckon, at like full pelt before they had to scale back because of the pandemic.
Again, not a musical person, but I understand what you're getting at there, and that is if you're part of the crowd of that musical, you're not being directed by the director's eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
You're able to pick up on other stuff that's happening in the background there.
Part of me almost like wish that there was like an option to watch this on Disney Plus, where you could either choose to watch just a wide angle of the whole thing from the back of the theater, and then go into those close-ups if you really wanted them. But there's definitely a difference between being there so you can choose where you're looking at, as you would with any theatrical production, any theater, to watching it at home on a streaming service where a director's gone, I want you to look at this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big difference there.
Yeah, I think the narrative really struggles in its screen transition.
Okay.
So if, as you say, if you're in the theater there watching it, you would be swept away. And I think, and it's fantastic for that. But for me, following the story was quite difficult because I felt like it just needed those pauses between moments, because as Steve said, it's song after song after song, or the moments and interactions between characters are sung as well, and that it sort of broke it. What did it do? It didn't give me the time to sort of process what was going on.
Which is odd because it is 2.5 hours long.
It probably took me an hour to sort of really gauge who are these people and what are they doing and what are their relationships together, and maybe it just needed some.
That's interesting because I never lost track of the story. What I struggled with was, again, during those, I think this comes down to me just not listening to rap, is I'm not used to trying to decipher what they're saying. So I would miss things that characters were saying to one another, but I definitely didn't lose track of the plot or which character disliked another character. That I thought, to me, that was quite clear.
I also empathize with you, Alex, on that because, I mean, without getting into it too much, I'm a movie person. I like to be shown rather than told. And I feel like a musical like this is 2.5 hours of people saying rather than doing most of the time. That's a little bit wrong. You've got choreography going on in the background, but at the same token, you've got to sit there. You've got to listen to lyrics about how these characters are feeling, what their motivations are, etc.
This is definitely a good clue into our little guessing game of who's done theatre before.
Oh,
Isn't it? One thing that did surprise me, and I thought they pulled off really well, is I thought they would have had multiple sets for a production of this scale.
Yeah.
But they don't. They have one set, but then through the use of lighting, staging, and then context through lyrics, they do go to a number of many different places. And I thought the staging and the use of lighting, and they've got this wonderful mechanism in the stage where the sections of the stage can spin around, rotate. And that they use that to incredible effect. I think one of the best ones is there's an explosion at one point, and all these characters, they're sort of doing this tableau where they're holding up this furniture but spinning around. It's like a slow motion explosion effect. I thought that was amazing. Like, that was such good staging.
Actually, that's something I did, like, again, another theatre buff, but something I did pick up, something I really appreciated as well, was just they had the sort of second level balcony there that was flittering in and out. And obviously the stagehands there were using that so effectively in conjunction with that rotating stage as well.
Absolutely. The stagecraft on display in this production is simple but very effective.
As a former theatre technician, I was quite jealous of the things that they were able to implement into the show.
There's a lot of like square light spots and stuff like that, which they used to great effect, and a few other things.
That rotating platform, that was 2 circles, but did the middle circle also rotate?
They could operate independently of one another or operate as a whole.
That is insane.
It was really cool.
The technology that is in live theatre live production now is insane, and they didn't overuse it. They kept it quite simple. They used it to the effect that it was required. They didn't go over the top or make it gimmicky at any point.
Yeah, because they could have we haven't really discussed the story for this, but. Basically, Alexander Hamilton, he's an orphan. He comes across to the States. I can't remember the years. I apologize. This period of history I'm not caught up on. But he comes across to the States during the American Revolution, is quite integral in that, along with a few other people, including Jefferson, who becomes president later on.
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert. It's a big song early in the song. In the musical, he's not going to waste his shot. He's a very ambitious person, and he's a bit of an overachiever, I think it's fair to say. And he befriends someone called, is it Alan Burr?
Aaron Burr.
Aaron Burr. And they sort of get along quite well. And sort of the story of this musical is sort of their friendship / partnership. They're the sort of central...
It turns into a rivalship.
And it does. It turns into a rivalry.
I did like the natural course of that. I thought it was quite a good part of that.
They did develop that quite well, didn't they? Yeah.
And I think that's helped along by Leslie Odom Jr., who plays Adam Burr, which I thought, for me, was probably the standout casting in this play. Leslie Odom Jr. just blew my socks off.
He's wonderfully restrained, actually, in that part, which is... It's very effective because obviously Hamilton himself, he's not. I wouldn't go as far as to say he's eccentric, but he's probably the bigger personality. Than Burr is. So, seeing those two interact and how they were written was definitely a highlight for me as well. And obviously the climax. I'm not going to spoil it. Don't panic. Even though it is based on history and it's all happened 200 something plus years ago.
Wait until you hear what happens in the film Titanic.
Oof.
Well, don't tell me. Don't tell me.
So I actually thought that this film also suffered from that. I've got a real problem with biopics.
Okay.
And how you as an audience member usually already know what's going to happen in the end.
Yeah.
And so when you do your first initial search for Hamilton, the first search results that appear are the climax of this film. You know what's going to happen. And so for me, with biopics, it's always a question of countdown. Okay, so when's this going to happen and how's it going to happen?
But however, it's a great point. But this musical actually diffuses that because I'm not going to ruin it, but when they introduce a major character, this character immediately states, and I'm the person who does this at the beginning of the musical. So you go, okay, cool. They're not going to try and play this for suspense, being a historical event. They're going, these are the players. This is what they are going to end up doing to one another. So I thought that they actually very cleverly diffused that issue right at the beginning of this musical. I thought that was quite interesting.
I guess that happens in Titanic as well, where they go down to the wreck at the very start.
Exactly.
Matt, you were going to make a point just before about the ending and stuff.
Well, I was, and then I got distracted by the wonderful structure they had. Talking about the rotating stage and about the end, there's a sort of duel at the end with pistols. And what I loved about they could have very easily have made this rotating stage and this pistol duel turn into something that's so overdone and so much like just The Matrix. Like, it could have been awful, but they didn't. They actually were really mature about it, even though they had the theater guys, Alex, you will attest to this, love their toys, but they restrained themselves and said, let's not overuse this and actually play it, because it's an emotional moment in the musical. So they kind of, let's respect what is happening emotionally here between these characters and not play it for spectacle too much. And I thought that to me, it was a really satisfying conclusion. I thought that was great. And the music is the music, when it's more melodic, again, more my cup of tea style of music, is really good. Some of the songs, I just was humming them for hours afterwards. Mm-hmm. They do stay with you. So I thought that it built really nicely and really maturely to this. It was spectacular, but also quite intimate, I think is the word I'm looking for. It was really intimate what they did at the end.
I felt that it was a bit of a wall of sound the entire time. One of my favourite song is towards the end. It's one of Burr's solo. Is it Burr?
Yeah.
One of Burr's solo songs. I couldn't tell you what the song's called. I couldn't tell you what he was singing about at the time, but it was one of the songs. I was like, oh, that's a cool song.
Mm. I quite like the song where Hamilton, I forget the reasons why, but he basically, I think he just slips and he has a bit of an affair. And his wife finds out.
Yeah.
And she decides, you know what, that's not on. I'm not happy with that. I'm going to burn all these wonderful letters you've sent to me so that you can't use them to try and get the public approval back. And that moment, and they used live flame on stage, which these days is really hard to do. So they did that, and it just, the music and the performance of the actress, it just all came together. It was wonderful. And you felt like, this is like, they are having a tiff. This marriage is in trouble. It was really good. It translated really well. I like that quite. There were a few the intimate moments between individual characters or solo characters where they're having an aside to the audience or something like that. Really landed for me. I thought they nailed it.
They play some really good comedy throughout it as well.
Yeah, they're quite
playing
a few
to the audience, and that doesn't take away from it when you're watching a pre-recorded
I don't think
version
so.
of it.
Yeah,
that was quite good.
I think it being a musical sort of heightened that comedy for me as well. Some of the lyrics in those songs were just hilarious.
Yeah, let's talk about Miranda's writing, because he is clearly a very witty person. Mm-hmm. He's a wordsmith. Like I was trying to keep up with the words and it's going, how did he think of this? Like, not only is it historically accurate, as far as I can tell from my limited research on it, but he's also not portraying any kind of character motive or anything like that. He's staying true to what's happening in the scene, and yet he's throwing out all this wonderful word usage.
There's 2.5 hours worth of that word usage.
Yeah, because there's not, shall we say, there's not many instrumental moments. Like there are words more or less throughout the whole thing. It's pretty impressive. He's done well.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, there's a reason this play has the reputation that it does.
Yeah,
and a lot of people were sort of waiting to see what Manuel Miranda would do after this.
Certainly. Yeah, well, yeah. And I think he did Mary Poppins Returns.
He did Moana after this.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah.
I love Moana.
I love Moana as well.
It's such a good movie.
I haven't actually seen that.
Get out.
We're on an island, Alex. I can't leave.
The perfect opportunity to watch Moana, I think.
I'd like you to go for a long swim off the short reef.
But, well, going back to the trailer then, what I would like to ask you guys is, obviously the trailer, obviously he's not going to hide that this is shot on a stage. Like, that's the selling point of this. Do you think that could turn some people off? Like, people might go, they've made a film version. Oh, wait, it's the theatre production. And do you reckon they might lose an audience there?
They did it for me.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably the perfect case for me. As I saw the methodology in which they were going to bring this to the screen, and I was like, I've really got no interest in this.
Okay.
That is to say, I did not enjoy myself. I was pleasantly surprised about how much of a quality production this was.
Yeah.
But again, it definitely, for someone who doesn't like musicals, it was a turn off for me.
Okay, interesting. Do you reckon you would have liked it if it was more of a Hugh Jackman style Les Mis remake?
Bring in Russell Crowe and we'll have another discussion, I think.
He could be King George, couldn't he?
He could be. He might be a good King George.
Yeah, we haven't heard much from Russell Crowe. I hope he's doing all right.
I mean, I came into it knowing exactly what to expect, and I just can't get behind or understand the following that it's got outside of the United States.
It's funny you bring that up because I could absolutely understand why this has such a massive following if it was the same music and tone and cast, but about a completely different subject. I think maybe Alex or Steve, you said to me earlier that this idea of making a whole musical about Alexander Hamilton is kind of a niche market. It's a very small moment.
Yeah, he's one of the lesser known founding fathers, of course.
And I think that's part of why Lin-Manuel Miranda made this, because I think he was trying to shine a light on this, because my understanding is that he is also quite forgotten in history until recently, obviously. Just worldwide, people have gone nuts for this. It's not like, just as a very loose example, Beauty and the Beast, you could sort of apply... It's not kind of culturally specific. That can be anywhere. Whereas Hamilton is very much, this is American history. It's like, if you don't like American history, are you really that excited about the musical? Because I wasn't, only because I didn't really want to research much about the revolution and all of that.
I think that's because Lin-Manuel Miranda has sort of tied in some modern themes into the musical itself. When he's talking about, the founding fathers founding this government, he's also trying to sort of link it to today's political climate as well.
Which is a good point, actually. So I was reading. So the classic example really is that Jefferson is traditionally a white person who's played by a black actor.
Yep.
So I was researching, so clearly they've done that for a reason. I was researching what the point was, and Miranda was saying that the idea was that this was a film about America's past, but presented by America's present.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, that's quite an interesting concept. And it kind of then also makes sense as to why there's a lot of hip hop and rap in this as well. And I was like, actually, I can get on board with that. That works for me. Again, not knowing much about the actual history, but I know what America's sort of going through now. It's like, yeah, that kind of is quite timely. Yeah. It's kind of it's a nice reminder. It's an optimistic, I think, reminder.
It's also a reminder that for the average citizen, your government is still in your hands. Okay.
Yeah.
It may not be 1776 anymore, and you may not be able to form your own government, but you as an average citizen are able to take part in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
It only requires you to take your shot.
And that's the thing, like that
well
song's now
because of the
stuck
song.
That song's now stuck in my head. It's like it's so catchy, and it's the music is fantastic, really good. I liked it. I know you said it's a wall of sound, but I mean I like a lot of orchestral music. So it's like the more brass sections and strings you can put in there, the better for me. So
there's lots of vinyl scratching and
there is. There's a lot of the hip hop stuff,
beatboxing stuff, and
like
they do some great practical stuff,
drum
like
and
beating
bass
on tables and stuff like that to make beats. And,
yeah,
and I think there's even the moment when Hamilton's wife is beatboxing with their son.
Yeah, that was quite funny. That's played for a joke. That was really cool. That was really funny. There's a moment where I think it is Burr. He stands up on a table. He's talking about he wants to be in the room with these men of influence when they make these decisions. And there's a tablecloth. I know that there's going to be a moment where he's going to jump up and someone's going to take the tablecloth out. And it's like, oh yeah, no, there it is. It happened. So I could see that coming. But it looked good. Like it was the choreography is I would describe it as simple, but very effective. Like they've picked their moments to sort of lash out, if you like, with some good dance moves. It's good. It's really good.
I just want to express some praise on Christopher Jackson, who plays George Washington, who I also thought was a shining light in this.
Yeah, he's very much a kind of mentor character figure, isn't he, to Hamilton to a certain extent. Yeah, he has a very good character. I don't want to ruin anything.
He has a good stage presence.
He does, yeah. I definitely... He made me feel things as plot progressed, let's put it that way. Yeah. No, he was definitely a star. They all were good. They really were good. It was interesting, actually. The actor that plays Hamilton's son, I'm going to call him Anthony Ramos. It could be Anthony, but I prefer saying Anthony, so that's what I'm going to say. It just like, this is not really related to the musical, but I did notice like, oh, okay, he's in this, and then he's in Godzilla 2, King of the Monsters. Like, huh?
Is he in that?
He is in that. He plays a Marine.
Oh wow! Now tell me, is like people playing dual roles?
Very standard.
Very standard.
Very standard.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
All the time.
Congratulations to those. I think it's 3 different actors who nail 6 roles amongst themselves.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the world of theatre. You got to share it around.
I'm learning so much.
It's not an endless money pit, Steve, like your whatever it is you do in your spare time.
I just want Charles Dance, and that's it.
Charles Dance plays all the characters. I also the bloke who plays Lafayette as well, the French dude.
And he also plays Jefferson as well. He plays 2 people.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's.
Mind blown.
There you go.
I had no idea.
So
There
you should now watch this again. You might enjoy it a bit more.
No.
I would. It is long, and I think my reservation was more me not knowing the history. But I would happily sit down and watch this again. I had a great time.
I would probably engage more if someone made an Australian version of a founding person. I don't know, of colonial.
I don't know if we want
Australia?
that story told, Alex. Not in musical form.
No, but I mean in the terms of being able to engage more with the content.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
Because without a background in it or a basic understanding, which I did not have,
Yeah.
but I've come out with more of an understanding now.
Sure.
That's probably where I probably had a disinterest in it.
Yeah. Okay.
Just thinking of the last two musicals that I've seen, Billy Elliot, and then before that, The Book of Mormon.
Very different.
Two very different ones, but those, I guess they're broader in a sense of story. It's about a character going through something. And I guess this is as well, but it's very specific in their journey in this musical.
Yeah, it is set over a number of years. I don't want to make it sound like it's set over a week. Like it is set over quite a few years.
Like 20 or 30 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's got time to have a kid and have that kid grow up. But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to mistake kind of a narrow focus with intimacy, because I think with this kind of production, it's possibly rare to actually for them to nail this kind of focus on one character. And I don't know. I think if I watch it again, I'd probably enjoy it more now that I know more of who the people are, and also what to expect in terms of trajectory and story and plot. I'd probably really appreciate the fact that you kind of feel like maybe you sat down in a private viewing of this musical, perhaps.
There actually, you do have a point to say that.
Good.
There's reverence around this cast.
Yeah.
When people talk about Hamilton, they talk about the Lin-Manuel Miranda years and how he's not an actor within this play anymore.
Yeah, he's
so
moved on.
What we've got here is a 2016, 2015 recording.
Yeah, I think it's 15.
Of the platinum cast.
Yeah, the original cast.
And it's supposed to be the best of the best. So if someone was to say, Steve, do you want to go see Hamilton? It's not Lin-Manuel Miranda. I think I would have to say a big old no.
Okay.
Because I've already seen the quote-unquote best form of this musical.
Yeah, the best version that you could see is arguably what is presented in this documented performance. Okay, I see that.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting point, when Barack Obama went to see this, Miranda actually stepped out and just sat with him. I was like, surely Obama would have much rather have seen him actually play Hamilton, surely.
And Lin-Manuel Miranda's probably like taking him through like step by step, every like blocking and staging on there, and Obama's like, can you just be
Probably.
quiet?
He would have had the writer's commentary throughout the whole thing.
What we did here, Obama.
You see what we did here with all the founding fathers?
It's two different circles that move.
And lighting effects.
I guess it's time to take your shot and tell us what you thought. Steve, what do you think?
What are we rating this out of today?
Oh, good.
I was trying to think of something that would work for the American Revolution, and I couldn't quite make anything work.
A nice, tall, like old-fashioned ship.
Or a coral bullet. Oh no, it's like he wrote a lot. That's a lot of theme.
How about amendments or something?
No, what about some sort of parchment? What about a parchment? No, an amendment. Yes,
I like amendments.
An amendment.
I wish you guys could see Alex's face
That's
right
not
now.
like a practical thing. Like it's not a. It's like a. But it's not a tangible amendment.
What that can be it. How many out of 5 tangible amendments?
5 constitutional coconuts.
I apologize for my colleagues.
Working with you a lot is difficult. Okay, amendment.
We're gonna have to cut this.
Well, okay, I'll go first with our amendments.
No. What is the thing? Like, what out of 5? The amendment.
Declarations of Independence.
No, but it's got to be tropical themed.
Tropical.
Hawaii is part of America, and that's tropical.
Yeah.
A coral pen to write your amendments.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
5 coral pens to write.
5 coral pens to write your amendments.
Yeah.
Out of 5 coral pens to write my amendments,
We got
I'm
that.
going to award Hamilton 2.5. I recognize the absolute genius that's gone into this Broadway play. There's a lot of things I do enjoy, but the format, the medium, doesn't work for me. Doesn't draw me in. Doesn't entertain me.
Okay.
2.5.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Coral pen amendments. Very
Yeah.
good. I think it was fantastic. Like, it's fantastic. The music's fantastic. Everything comes together really well. I don't know if it's the best translation that it could have had onto film. And just because of what the content is, I felt a disconnect from it. I didn't feel like I could really fully invest my attention in this. And I am also concerned that some people know where I live. And they may be like, Alex, how can you have that opinion about it?
Yeah.
And they'll come and get me. I'm going to say 3.5
Okay.
because I don't know that. Like, I thought it was fantastic. I'm not going to watch it again.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just don't feel
Yeah.
like I can invest myself, and I can't say to someone else, you have to watch this.
Yeah.
But I've had so many people saying, you've got to watch this. And so that's why we're reviewing it today.
There's a bit of a hype issue. There's definitely, similar to a few other things we've discussed, where people were saying, we discussed Get Out a few episodes ago, where everyone was saying, it's amazing, it's so good. And then you sort of watch it go, oh, was that it? But I feel like this actually has lived above that a little bit for me.
Okay. And what
Yeah.
would you say about it?
Yeah,
Matthew?
so I definitely agree. I think if I was physically there watching this, I would immediately go, that was amazing. But for me, watching a stage production through film is just, it's the second best thing. So as a result, it's not the best thing, not the best way to view that production. So I am going to give a rating to the version I saw as opposed to the actual play, just for any Hamilton fans that are listening, just to distinguish. I did have a really good time. I need to watch it with subtitles. I should have done that initially. Again, being quite new to rap and hip hop, I miss things. I miss things people were saying. But I love the music. I love the characters and the way that they've been sort of put together. It did make me want to research the time period and find out more about it, which I probably will go on to do. And I think if it's been able to do that, then it's fantastic. The stagecraft was great. The lighting was great. No issues there. That's fantastic. So I'm going to give it a 4. But if you gentlemen will allow, thank you again, Douglas, for giving us your 2 cents on the whole thing. I know that he's a super fan. Can I add a 1 to my score for Douglas?
Yes.
Seeing as he's such a massive fan, and give it a 5.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to give it a 5 then.
Hamilton fans, get him now.
I really did enjoy it. I would happily sit down and watch this again.
That is 11 out of 15 coral pen amendments.
No, they're not coral pen amendments. They're coral pens with which to write your amendments.
Yeah, get it right, Alex.
Oh, I don't know.
Let me just amend your statement there.
I put that pen back where it came from. So help me. I think I was a bit brain fried after that.
Oh, I absolutely was.
Okay.
I was like, I've had to invest so much thought into, as opposed to the old guard last week.
Did everyone take an intermission when the intermission came up?
I did take an intermission, yes.
No, I watched it through because it was getting far too late, and I was like, I've got to power through. True story.
Silence.
And what'd you done?
Silence is the best thing for a podcast. Fantastic.
The power of editing shall compel you. Well, there you go. I reckon a solid 11 out of 15.
I think that's pretty
With
good.
some help from some friends from a different podcast.
Yeah, thank you again, Douglas.
Which was called... What was their podcast
the
called?
250. The 250, you can find that on Spotify as well.
Good. And if you've hung around, now you get to find out who's been in a musical.
Yes. Who would have guessed it?
It's me.
Put your hands up in the room if you're in a musical.
People can't see hands.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
It was both Alex and I.
it was Matt and me
Yeah.
who put their hands up. I really should have thought about that, shouldn't I?
Yeah, that's all right. It's okay. Anyway,
This has been the Trailer Island podcast, and we hope you've enjoyed it. You can find us at trailerisland.com.au. We can stream all the episodes from, including Spotify, iTunes, and Google as well, and from wherever you get your podcasts.
All the places.
yeah.
Send us an email or contact us via Facebook to send in any requests that you have, any feedback, whatever you want to do. That's basically why today's episodes exist, because people are like, you got to do Hamilton. So,
And we do like requests, because we would not have watched this otherwise. So that was great.
yeah, I think it was mildly aggressively suggested as well, but I'm like, okay, who knows, we'll do
That's
it.
all right. We've done it.
11 out of 15, that's fantastic. I've been your host, Alex. I've been joined by...
Matthew.
And Steve.
And we hope you enjoyed today's episode. You can stream all our old episodes anytime you want from whatever platform you like. And we will catch you next week on another episode of the Trailer Island podcast. Good night.
Aaron Burr.
This is a Narrative Network podcast.